Hello everyone, my name is Alida Esmail and I'm a Pilates instructor in the Department of Recreation and Athletics at Concordia University. Once again today we're going to be doing a 60-minute Pilates class on the mat. At some point we are going to head up onto our knees, so if you have sensitive knees, if you need a little extra padding, I invite you to go grab a towel or something that you can use. If not, the exercises can also be done standing. Other than that, no accessories required. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, I will propose certain modifications with different exercises, different levels, depending on how you feel today. But first priority is that you breathe throughout and that you listen to your bodies. You know your injuries, you know how your body moves. So take that into consideration as you do this class. So let's get started. We can keep the towel aside for now. We're going to start lying on our back, knees up towards the ceiling, feet flat on the mat. Let's bring our arms alongside the body. And let's take a few breaths to just feel our weight dropping down towards the mat. Maybe doing a few tilts in the pelvis, forwards and backwards. Really feeling the heaviness of the pelvis dropping down. Just giving a really small massage to the back of the sacrum. Letting the front of the rib cage drop heavy down towards the mat. Release the shoulders, the neck and the head, as well as the glutes, the hamstrings, and the feet. So here our alignment is heels in line with the sit bones, knees in line with the hips. Letting the rest just kind of release down towards the mat. Let's take the tilt from side to side. So very small motion. You can even tap your fingertips on towards the hip bones. And as we tilt to one side, let's say the right hip bone drops down towards the mat, the left hip bone like a puppet string up towards the ceiling, and then over to the other side. So as you might notice, my knees stay in the exact same spot the whole time. So we want to avoid swaying the knees from side to side and isolate the movement really deep into just that pelvis. You can already start to think about bringing the belly button in towards the spine. Just a little pull in as if you're zipping up a pair of jeans that are maybe half a size too small for you. And let's bring the pelvis back to neutral. So it's about the midpoint between those four tilts we just did, and keeping a natural curve in the lower back. Belly is in towards the spine. Let's bring our hands up towards the ceiling and glue our palms of our hands together. So elbows are super long here. Palms of the hands stay stuck together, and we roll over onto one shoulder, bringing the hands over to one side and back to center. So the goal here is to find a little warm up in our thoracic rotation, so the rotation of the rib cage, without moving the lower body. So as you roll over, let's say to the left side, the right hip, the right foot stays heavy down towards the mat. Knees stay stable. And just the rib cage rolling from side to side. You can allow your eyes to follow the palms of your hands. Elbows stay nice and long. So we're keeping this long triangle with the arms, even as we roll from side to side. One more time each side. And bringing it back to center, release the arms down alongside the body. We're going to bring our feet together, knees to touch, ankles to touch, and open the arms either to a low V or out to a T on the floor. So palms of the hands are anchored down, helping you also anchor the backs of your shoulders and shoulder blades. This time we're going to warm up a little rotation of the lower body. So shoulders stay anchored down towards the mat, knees stay glued together. We roll over onto one hip. So the other hip and foot is peeling away from the mat. But we want to avoid sliding or releasing the connection between the knees. So keep that stuck together and use those obliques. Bring the knees back to center. We roll over to the other side. Feeling that twist around the midriff and back to center. So the goal here, again, is to warm up that rotation. You'll likely feel it mostly around the belly. It's where we have the most amount of rotation available in our spine. We want to keep our neutral pelvis, so keep that natural curve in the lower back as we rotate from side to side. And the knees and inner thighs stay nice and strong, stuck together. One more time each side. And let's bring it back to center. Separating the legs hip width apart. Fingertips come behind the head. Let's peel up for our first ab curl. Chin to the chest and up and over and back down. So a Pilates ab curl, you might not come up as high as you're used to, because the goal here is to keep the pelvis in neutral. So the minute you start to come up and feel like you're tilting the pubic bone up towards the ceiling or pressing the lower back in towards the mat, you maybe come a little bit too far. Let's connect the breath with this movement. Exhale on the way up. Inhale down. Exhale. Inhale. Keep those elbows wide in your peripheral vision and long back of the neck. Let's bring back a rotation in the upper body. So the next time you come up, we'll rotate over to the right and down through center. Rotate to the left, down through center. If ever you feel any tension in the back of the neck, you can think of tilting that chin a little more in towards the neck, the front of the neck, or take a little bit more support into your hands. Exhale, inhale, out and in. For 3, 2, and 1. We're going to come back to an ab curl up through center and back down through center. Really flowing through this motion, getting a nice warm up in those abs. Shoulder blades stay down the back. And we're going to add a coordination of the lower legs. So starting with the right leg, as we peel up in the ab curl, right leg comes to a single hip fold and back down. Other side, left leg up and down. So these single hip folds, it's just the thigh bone moving in the hip socket. Again, keep that neutral pelvis, oiling up that hip joint. And the angle, the 90-degree angle behind the knee, we want to keep that the whole time. Keep going with the upper body. You should start to feel that work. Exhale, inhale. So this is proposition number 1. If you want to keep going, we're going to move to another variation. If not, you stick with this one. So next variation is switching the legs at the same time. Point the toes, tap one down towards the mat, and then the other. Again, coordinating that with the upper body. And taking a nice short burst of air. Exhale out through the mouth with every switch. For 3, 2, and 1. Release it down. Squeeze the knees in towards the chest. And release the shoulders. If it feels good to rock a little from side to side, go right ahead. If it doesn't, do not do it. And coming back to center. We're going to take that exercise one step further. So let's bring the legs up to a double hip fold, fingertips behind the head, peel up into an ab curl. This time we're going to add a rotation in the upper body. So let's bring the left toes down towards the mat, and we're going to rotate towards the right knee. And then switch right away, other side, and switch, and switch. So it's kind of a modified bicycle motion, if you know what that is. Again, goal here is to stay up in the ab curl, nice and supported at the back and in the belly. Keep the angle behind the knee, pointing the toes for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release it down, knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Let's take a little pause for the upper body and bring the feet back down on the mat, arms alongside the body. We're going to lengthen the right leg, kind of sliding the base of the foot, scooch up, sliding the base of the foot on the mat until the toes lift and point the toes. And then we're going to lift the right leg up towards the ceiling. The goal here is to keep a nice long leg, kneecap sliding up the thigh, back of the knee open, but the pelvis stays in neutral. So the minute you find yourself tilting, you've gone too high in the leg. Bring the leg back down and slide the heel back in towards the sit bone. Other leg, lengthen and lift. Lower and slide it in. Lengthen, lift, down and in. Lengthen, lift, down and in. So continue flowing through this motion in the lower body. Let's connect the breath. Inhale, lengthen and lift. Exhale, lower, slide it in. Inhale. Exhale. And with every inhale, see if you can expand the back and sides of the rib cage a little bit more. So avoiding a pop-up of the chest towards the ceiling. We're nice and connected from the base of the ribs to the top of the hips, abs engaged. We're going to take it a little bit faster. So I want you to imagine the base of the foot is like a match, and you're striking a match on the floor, on the mat. Lengthen and lift, down and in. So with every strike, you're really finding that lengthen the leg before you start to lift. And in. Inhale. Exhale. Keep that belly in, pelvis stable for 4, for 3, 2, and 1. Come back over to the right leg or your first leg. Bring it up to a diagonal. Open the arms to a V or a T position. Root your upper body down. Open the leg out towards that side, so right leg out towards the right side, and squeeze it back in to center. Again, open, keep that left hip, left rib cage, anchor down towards the mat and lift it back up. Again, exhale. Inhale. So it doesn't have to be a very large motion. We want to tap into those deep stabilizer muscles, deep in the inner thigh to find this motion. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. You should feel it high up on the inner thigh, feeling nice and stable in the core. 2 more times. Open and close. Open and close. Bring the leg down. Give it a little shake. Then slide the heel back in towards the sit bone. Other leg, lengthen and lift, pointing the toes. Find that diagonal. Open the leg out towards the left side and bring it back to center. Out and in. Again, nothing has changed in the upper body. Keep the front ribs connected to the back ribs. The right knee staying in line with the right hip. The only thing moving is that left thigh bone. Opening and squeeze it back. Use the inner thigh. Open and close. 2 more. And 1. Bring it back to center, release it down onto the mat, give it a little shake. And slide that heel back in towards the sit bone. So feet are parallel, knees in line with the hips. Let's peel ourselves back up for an ab curl. We stay high. So nice and supported in the back, chin towards the chest. Let's bring our right leg to a single hip fold. Actually, let's come to a double hip fold. We're going to stay up in this double hip fold. Right leg lengthens to a diagonal and back in. Left leg lengthen and back in. So we're just switching one leg at a time to that high diagonal that we just found with our upper body down, and then back to the double hip fold. So you can either stick with this variation or we take it one step further. We switch the legs at the same time. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Keep that belly in. Natural curve in the lower back. Neutral pelvis. All right, either you stick with this or we're adding one last addition. Rotation in the upper body. Going for more of that bicycle motion. Opposite shoulder to opposite knee, switch, switch, exhale, exhale. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release it down, knees in towards the chest. Nice big squeeze. And if it feels good, again, maybe a little rock from side to side, helping release out any tension in the back. And let's bring our feet back down onto the mat. We're going to open out the front of the hips, going for our neutral bridge. Arms alongside the body. We start in a neutral pelvis, knees aligned. And we tilt the pubic bone up towards the ceiling, tap the lower back towards the mat. And then continue to roll so that the hips come up towards a high diagonal between the knees and the shoulders. Back down the way you came, one vertebra at a time, starting with the upper back, passing through the middle back, tapping the lower back, and then tilting the pelvis back to neutral. Again, with the breath, inhale, roll it up. Exhale, roll it down. So even as you roll down, keep that wide chest and anchoring down through the shoulders and the shoulder blades. On this next one, we're going to stay up in that diagonal. So take a little look at your knees. If they're splaying outwards, bring them back in line with the hips. You can even imagine a block or a rolled up towel. You can even roll up your towel, place it between your knees if you need a little extra reminder there. And let's bring our fingertips up towards the ceiling. Still anchoring the backs of the shoulders down, long lower back. Inhale, the arms come up overhead. Exhale, bring it back. Inhale. Exhale. In. And out. One more. Bring the fingertips back towards the ceiling. Again, anchor down, press through the feet, lift the hips maybe a little higher, knees in line. You should feel those inner thighs, squeezing the glutes, the hamstrings, and let's go for a little pulse of the pelvis up, 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 up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release it down one vertebra at a time. Bring the arms down, separate the feet the width of the mat, and do a little windshield wiper release for the knees. Releasing out in the hip creases and the lower back. And we're going to go for a little variation with the neutral bridge. So let's bring the legs back in line, base of the feet down towards the mat, neutral pelvis. This time, instead of rolling up through the pelvis, we're going to go straight from the neutral pelvis, press it up all the way to the diagonal. Then, as we come back down, again, break at the hip crease, feel that weight of the pelvis bringing you down to hit right back, right away into that neutral pelvis. So instead of passing through each vertebra, we're going right up and then right down. Up and down. Everything else stays the same. Knees stay aligned, long lower back once we're up there in the diagonal. Anchor down, squeeze the glutes, back down, up, back down. If you want, you can do it with the fingertips up towards the ceiling, a little extra challenge, up and down, for 4, 3, 2, and 1. One more for good measure, but this time we're going to stay up in the diagonal. And we're going to lift both heels and bring the toes a little closer towards the sit bones. So a little bit more strength needed in the hips, in the glutes and the hamstrings. We lower both heels and lift again. Lower and lift. So the whole time our hips are nice and high, long lower back, super supported. Just the heels lifting and lowering. Keeping the ankles aligned, pressing into the balls of the feet, equally from the big toe all the way to the pinky toe. For 5, 4, you should feel this in the back side of the body. For 2, and 1, bring the heels down, slowly release the hips and the arms, feet hip width apart, or mat width apart, and release the knees. All right, we're going to come back to a little work for the front side of the body. We're going to go for our 100. So if you don't know what that is, I'm going to explain. It's a full body exercise, as all of them pretty much are. So for the upper body, we're up in an ab curl, chin towards the chest, really this idea of coming out through the crown of the head, up and over an imaginary beach ball. Pelvis stays in neutral. The arms come alongside the body, parallel to the mat. So they're in a little bit of a hover. And we're going to be inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 5. So short bursts of inhales through the nose and then 5 short bursts of exhales through the mouth. We do that for 10 rounds, which gets us to the 100. And so with every burst of inhale or exhale, there's a little pulse in the arms. Not in the entire upper body, just the arms. And then for the legs, you have different options. Either staying with the feet down on the mat, level 1. Level 2, bringing the legs up to a double hip fold. Level 3, squeezing the legs together and lengthening to a diagonal. If you're really feeling good today, the lower you go in the diagonal, the harder it is. Be very cautious that you don't start to overarch in your lower back. The minute you start to feel that happening, press that lower back towards the mat and maybe adjust the legs to a previous level. I'm going to go for a double hip fold here today. So let's peel up into our ab curl, belly in, transverse engaged, bring those hip bones towards one another, arms parallel to the mat, and here we go, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job. Release it down, knees in towards the chest. Maybe rolling the head from side to side if you're feeling any tension in the neck. Rolling the body from side to side. Let's lengthen the legs, arms up above the head, take a nice big stretch. And release. We're going to roll it all the way over onto the stomach and then press up to an all fours position. So here we want the hands under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. So hands are shoulder width apart as well, and knees are hip width apart. And we want a little micro bend in the elbows to make sure we're not really crashing or hyperextending in those elbows. Shoulder blades slide down the back. If you have a tendency to have really tense upper traps, lots of engagement needed more from the back. Here, let's take a little cat and cow to release it out. Top of the head and tailbone curling down and under. And then lengthen and curl up towards the ceiling. Again, curl it in and up. And neutral and up towards the ceiling. Bringing it back to neutral. This time we're going to curl to the right and to the left. So top of the head and tailbone curl over to the left side. So eyes stay down to the mat. It's as if you're wagging your tail to one side, top of the head as well. Bring back to center and then over to the other side. So we're staying in that neutral pelvis. We're lengthening one side of the body and then over to the other side. Bring it back to center. Find that neutral position, that support, open the space between the shoulder blades. We're going to go for our opposite arm leg reach. So the right arm, left leg slides forward and back on the mat. Keep the hip bones pointing down and we lift the arm and the leg, no higher than parallel. Down, slide it back in. Over to the other side. Lengthen and lift. Down and in. Inhale. Exhale. The goal here is to keep the weight of the body in the exact same spot the entire time. It's the muscles that will have to adjust to keep you there. Inhale. Exhale. One more time each side. And we're going to come back to the first side, and we're going to hold it up parallel to the floor. Little circles, arm and leg together. A little coordination exercise for you. Keep that belly in and other direction if you can figure out what that is. Keep the leg parallel. Bring it down and slide it back in. Second side, lengthen and bring it up. Little circle in one direction. No swaying in the hips, keep the belly in. Other direction. Open up the back of the knee. And slide it back down. Let's take a little shell stretch, child's pose. Hips release down onto the heels and the forehead comes to the mat. You can even release your belly here, let it expand towards the thighs, taking a little break. Regain control of your breath. And let's bring it back up to an all fours position. This time we're going to open the left arm out towards the side. You can look towards your hand. And then we're going to feed the fingertips across the body and under and through the other side. So finding a rotation of that rib cage. Use the obliques, bring the body back to center, and again, open the arm. Again, slide the fingertips under and through. Try and keep those hips on top of the knees. And open. 2 more times. Strong supporting arm, shoulder blades down the back, micro bend in that supporting elbow. Last one. And bring it back down. We switch right away to the other side. Right arm opens. Slide it through and under. Again, open and under. Two more. Last one. Bring it back to center and shift it back, hips onto the heels, this time sitting up. Roll out the shoulders. Maybe roll out the wrists if they're feeling a little tense. And here's where we're going to go up onto our knees. So if you need a little extra padding, place it beneath the knees. Or if it's really not comfortable, you can also do it in a standing position. So here, sure my head might get cut off here, but that's okay. We're going to bring our knees under the hips, still aiming for a neutral pelvis. So tailbone dropping down towards the mat, hip bones connected, belly in and moving up. We're going to place our hands behind our head. I'll come down just in case you can't see me. Fingertips behind the head. And we're going to be doing a little back bend with the upper body. So bringing the eyes, the nose, the sternum forward and up. And as we do that, we want to keep the hips over the knees. Long lower back. Really, again, this time the imaginary beach ball is behind us, coming up and over. And then back to neutral. Keep releasing those shoulder blades down the back. We don't want any tension at the top of the shoulders. And back. Inhale, up and over. Open the chest. Exhale, back to vertical. One more time. And again, back to vertical. This one you won't really be able to do on the feet. So if the knees are too much, just take a little breather. We're going to bring our arms forward and slide again the shoulder blades down the back. So we want to avoid reaching forward, but still nice and supported here. Palms of the hands towards one another. The goal of this is to keep the body as if it's like one plank of wood. So we're going to lean back, let the whole body move back in a diagonal, eyes follow, and come back up to vertical. You'll feel this in your thighs, maybe even in your hamstrings, in your glutes, back to vertical. So we want to really keep that one long line. We want to avoid opening the chest like we just did. Letting the eyes move up the wall, back to vertical. One more time. And bring it back up, release down, and take away the towel if you had one. And we're going to come all the way down onto our stomach. So forehead comes to the mat, and we can stack our hands under our forehead. Legs are hip width apart, just releasing down on the mat to start. And here we're going to start with just the head. So let's get our shoulders out of the way, shoulder blades sliding slightly down towards the hips. Eyes and nose are going to stay down towards the mat, facing down, but we're going to lift the face away from the mat. So you can even think of the chin coming in a little towards the neck, really making sure the back of the neck stays long and the face comes back down. Again, lift and lower. So even in this position, we can think of bringing the front ribs to the back ribs. Maybe relieve a little pressure that you might be feeling towards the mat. And bring the belly up towards the spine. Again, you still have that small pair of jeans on. And breathing through. Inhale. Exhale. In. And out. If you're good with this, you can keep with this version, or we're going to take a little addition of keeping the forehead stuck to the back of the hands and the face and the arms lift. So you're likely not going to come up as high and back down. You can add a little strength from the legs here if you need. Pressing the front of the hips down towards the mat. Belly continues to lift, but tops of the feet, shoelace side of the feet pressing down towards the mat. Getting a nice base of support, allowing you to go a little bit further in the upper body. Again, long back of the neck, crown of the head reaching forward. Shoulder blades sliding down. 2 more times. Last one. And release it down. Turn one ear to the mat. Just take a little breath here. If it feels good to shake your hips from side to side, go right ahead. And we're going to bring our forehead back to the mat, stacked on top of the hands. And this time we're going to move our attention towards more of the lower body. So we can keep the shoulders released for now. Belly, rib cage still pulling in. Hip bones still pressing down towards the mat with the pubic bone. Right leg lengthens so much. Toes are pointed like lasers. And then we lift that leg up towards the ceiling. But the hips continue to press down towards the mat. And bring the leg down. Other leg. Open out the back of the knee. Lengthen, point the toes. Lift the leg. And lower. Switching from side to side. Lengthen and lift. Lengthen and lower. Inhale. Exhale. Either you stick with that or a level 2, switching both legs at the same time. Switch and switch. So you might notice you need a little bit more strength in that belly. Maybe the jeans are a full size or a size and a half too small now. And careful here that you don't end up bending the knees. That's working a whole different set of muscles. So really find that length. We want to open to create a bit more space in that hip socket, reaching the thigh bone out of the hip socket, as if we want to touch a wall with our toes. Reach, 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 belly in. Inhale. Exhale. In and out. Again, either you stay here or you test out level 3. Squeeze the legs together. Both legs lift. Both legs lower. So they're acting like one. Really feel that support from the triangle on the front of the hips. Pubic bone, 2 hip bones. Really anchored down, giving you a good base of support. Again, priority is length. Reach, 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 reach as you lift and lower. 2 more. Lift and lower. Last one. Squeeze those glutes and release it down. Turn your other ear to the mat. Take a little breather. All right, final exercise on our stomach. We're adding the upper and lower body together. So if ever both legs are too much, you can only go with one leg. That's always an option. You can always just lift the face instead of the arms. So any of the modifications that we just spoke about, feel free to add them in if you need. If not, we go full throttle. So squeeze the legs together, glue the forehead to the palms of the hands, slide the backs of the palms of the hands, slide the shoulder blades down and away from each other, so you can still think of creating a bit more space between the shoulder blades. Front of the ribs in, belly in, hips down, lengthen, and everything lifts, everything lowers. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. In, out. 2 more. In, out. Last one. In, and out. Release the hands. Press into the mat with the hands and the knees. Shift your hips up and back onto the heels. Nice shell stretch. Again, releasing the weight of the hips and the forehead. And release the belly towards the thighs. Starting from the tailbone, rolling yourself up, heavy, head is heavy. And we're going to come find our side lying position. So come down onto the mat. We have just 2 sides left of the body. You're almost there. So we're finding a nice long line here. Toes are pointed in line with the hips, the shoulders, and the top of the head. And let's bring our arm alongside our body. So ready there, nice little challenge for your balance. Belly is pulling in towards the spine, up away from the mat, and also up towards the head. So it's like a little hook in the belly. Strong legs, even though they're down on the mat, they're still super engaged. Inhale the arm towards the ceiling and up above the head. Shoulder blade slides down the back. Exhale, bring it back. Inhale. Exhale. Bring your attention back to your rib cage. As you inhale, expand in all directions. Exhale back. In and out. All right, on this next one, we're going to keep the arm up over the head, about shoulder height, so we're not touching the ground. And this time, the top leg is going to lengthen and lift towards the ceiling, and lower. Lift and lower. So we want to keep both legs parallel here, so kneecaps are pointing forward, one hip right over the other. Again, if you need some extra padding, grab your towel, place it under your hip. Inhale, exhale. We're now going to add the movement of the arm. So as the leg lifts, the arm comes to the ceiling, and then it comes back up overhead as it lowers. Up and down. Kind of making a half snow angel. One more like that. Good. Bring it down. Fingertips come just lightly tapping the mat in front of the chest. Or if you still want to keep with that balance exercise, a little harder challenge, bring the arm alongside the body or up towards the ceiling. And this time we're going to flex the feet. Top leg lifts, lower leg joins, and they both come down together. Lift, lift, and lower. So the goal here is that when the second leg lifts, we don't have to change the height of the first leg. So see if you can get that height right. The first time, maybe it's only about hip height. We are limited in our mobility here. Lower leg goes to squeeze together and they both come down together. Up, up, down. Up, up, down. Keep that 3D breathing, belly in and up. Up, up, down. 3. Press out through the base of the feet. Last one. And release it down. We're going to now bend the knees to a double hip fold in the side lying position. Caution here that you're not tilting in the pelvis as if you're going to go to bed. We bring the pelvis back to neutral, sit bones reaching back, and hand can come on the hip to really help guide that length in the center. So really use that hand, press that hip far, lift the lower waist away from the mat. Level 1, keeping the feet together, open the knee and back down. We want to avoid rolling back in the hips. So that's where the glute work comes in. Squeeze the top glute as the knee lifts. Up and lower. Level 2, knee and ankle together. Lift to the same height and down. Lift and down. It's a little bit more weight that the glute needs to manage. Either version, after a couple repetitions, you should start to feel it. Belly in and up. Shoulders stacked. Inhale. Exhale. On this next one, keep the leg up in the air. Little internal rotation and external rotation. So again, just the thigh bone moving in the hip socket. In and out. In and out. Don't worry, we're going to stretch out the glute after. Feel it burn. In and out. Neutral pelvis. For 3, 2, and 1. Release it down. Whew, we're going to lengthen that top leg forward, and then you can shift yourself back on the mat and open the chest towards the ceiling. So we're going for a bit of this twisting stretch here today. So we want to bring that top shoulder and rib cage to open out and drop down towards the mat while keeping the hips stacked and the top leg forward. You can even use your hand if you'd like to keep that leg pressing downwards. With every exhale, see if you can release any tension that's still hanging around. One more breath. And release. We're going to come back to just windshield wiping the knees from side to side. And we have one more side of the body. We are almost there. Swivel around and we repeat on the other side. So lengthen the body, point the toes, find that side-lying alignment, and bring the arm alongside the body. Take a couple breaths here just to get into that stability. Find some control in your breath again. Strong legs. Stretch the spine like an accordion. Tailbone reaching down, crown of the head reaching up. Inhale the arm up and over the head. Exhale back. Inhale. Out. In. And out. Feeling the support from the shoulder blade here, sliding on the back of the rib cage like a wing, opening and closing. On this next one, we keep the arm up above the head, shoulder height, moving the top leg now, lengthen and lift, and lower. Keep the bottom leg strong. In and out. In, out. Let's add the arm with it. Everything comes up. Everything comes back down. In and out. Three, 2, and 1. Release it down. Choose your position of the arm. Flex the feet. Top leg lifts. Bottom leg joins. They both lower together. Up, up, and down. Up, up, down. Inhale. Exhale. Pressing up through the feet as if you're standing on the side wall for 3, 2, and 1. Bring it down. Good. Bending the knees, single hip, double hip fold. Neutral pelvis, hand on the hip. Really press that hip away from the face. Level 1, feet come together, knee opens, and down. Level 2, knee and ankle together. Deep breathing, core engaged, shoulders down. On this next one, keep the leg up in the air, internal rotation and out. In and out. Really feel that thigh bone rotating in the hip socket, hips stay stacked. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Release. Let's stretch this side out. You made it. Roll the chest and the shoulder open towards the ceiling. If you want, bring your hand on that little top leg, guiding it still down towards the floor. Nice big inhale. And exhale, release a little further. And untangle the legs, little windshield wiper in the knees. And hold on to the backs of the hamstrings. Take a little roll forwards and backwards. Keeping a long C curve in the spine. And on the next one, let's see if you can keep a little balance up. Wide chest, balancing on the back of the hips. Release the arms, belly in. Exhale. Last one, inhale. And exhale, release the feet down, roll over the legs. Release the head between the knees. and roll your spine back to vertical. And you guys made it. That is it for today. You finished the class. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to comment on the video and to follow me on YouTube and Instagram for more Pilates things. All right, I hope you have a wonderful day. Hydrate and take care of your body and mind. Thanks for joining. Bye.